Hello everyone and welcome to the ScratchRunning Podcast, the official podcast of competitive browser gaming. In this monthly series, me and the ScratchRunners talk about what we've seen on Scratch and about Scratch as a platform. And as always, I'm your host Kieran, and with me on the mic are HmYesQuite and Apfellord.
Hello. Woo!
And here we are, for the first time in 2020.
Yeah.
For episode 10 of
Episode 10.
the only podcast on Scratch.
I'm 2 digits.
Yep.
New year.
Double digits. Can you believe we're already 10 years old?
Between the year and the episode number, there's so many zeros. I'm over the moon. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's like also we've probably hit some
zero.
like follower.
Can you believe that we've already passed 333 followers by the time this is
did?
released?
Hey,
Whoa!
Whoa!
Like hard read. We're at 330 right now, but hard read. We're going to be past 333.
I just hope they don't
great.
dodge.
That'd be funny.
We're just gonna lose like 100 subscribers.
Oh no!
Of course.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribers we don't have on our YouTube. Subscribe to ScratchRunning.
Subscribe to ScratchRunning.
to.
I love this podcast.
Yeah.
It's good to be back.
What?
Yeah.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
It's been
Actually,
a while.
it's been the longest ever.
Yeah.
Since we've had a little vacation from
We
the
took a
SRCast.
break. Have you seen
Yeah.
episode 9.9?
I personally very much enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It was a good replacement.
That was a good
Yeah.
internet funny.
Internet funny, haha.
I remember coming back from
as
vacation and seeing that and thinking, wait, did they record an episode with that? Like, oh, cool. And then I started playing it and I was like, oh, they absolutely did not.
They just
I mean, I liked it a lot. It's just, it was not a podcast episode for sure.
Wait, did
Yeah.
you see the thumbnail and think it was a podcast?
Kind of.
I mean,
I wondered if it was
Especially-
going to be just like a short one or something.
yeah.
I mean, I guess it was a short.
Just the title also, which is
Yeah.
which is also great. I think coming back like from the vacation and from the new year and everything and all the holidays.
That was a much needed break. I think I
Oh, yeah.
recorded some things for Scratch Running, but besides that, we took a break.
True. And also I think
Mm.
now it's time with this SRCast to just kind of reflect. Like
Yeah.
first of all, reflect on the year maybe, if anything.
Yeah. It's been a good year
then-
to be Scratch Running.
Dude, for sure. Reflect on or what we did on Scratch Running, and I don't know, whatever else we can think of.
So 2019 was the year we started the Scratch Running Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We
Right?
got
yeah.
the attention of some of the best game devs on Scratch.
Also animators.
Like 321 Retro Gamer commented on our podcast.
Yo, didn't Chaotic also like?
Yeah,
I completely forgot about that again. But
yeah, he said thanks for shouting out Arena. And I love that, because,
Because we sure do.
yeah,
He says,
also
hey, thanks
TNT
for...
was on there.
Yeah.
TNT Squirrel, we got him onto the podcast. That was
And-
fun.
In the future, who knows who else might join? Maybe some other
2019.
popular ones.
2019 was,
One thing that comes to mind immediately, and one thing we've kind of talked about a lot recently, but I feel now is the time again. Scratch 3.0 is about a year, like
yeah, I think,
old
yeah,
now,
they released it in January 2019. and
and
here
I
we
just
are.
kind of wanna reflect on what happened in the last year because I
Yeah,
feel like,
Happy
not
birthday,
to put
Scratch
any
3.
pressure on anybody, I kind of feel like wasn't much happening.
Mm.
Well, I
Like,
guess, a lot of people at the beginning, when there were, obvious flaws compared to what people expected
Yeah.
out of the previous one,
Yeah,
they said,
they got the.
be patient, they're working on it. So, you guys have
and then
been
we
working
we
with...
did eventually get the patch, but
we are still patient though for some things.
we're waiting.
So
And our
I've-
patience may be running thin. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been sort of holed up in my personally saved SB2, so I'm not
Oh,
as
yeah,
familiar. What are the kinds of things that you guys are still missing?
I'm safe here in my
Yeah, sort of.
in my SB2 environment.
Just doing me
Everything
fine.
is fine. Scratch 3 isn't real. It can't hurt you.
Oh man, I like let's let's figure out exactly what the thing here is.
First
So we
of all,
had
what
Scratch
happened in
3.
the patch that was good?
We had the tire fire that was the early like January, right?
Naturally.
And then I mean, and that's completely to be expected, right? I think it's difficult to get something right like in the first month even. But then we got what were the biggest problems we had? Oh Lord. I remember
problems with
Vector.
early Scratch 3.
It's more likely than you think.
Vector looked like Bitmap. I remember that.
That's
Probably
not
even
good.
worse. I remember like sound issues. I remember
There were a lot of like small issues just with like the way the scripts were moved around and the way they did or didn't fit nicely.
I remember in Scratch 2 when you cleaned up blocks, it actually arranged them in like a square. In Scratch 3, it's all vertical.
Joke's on you. Yeah, that's still the case. Like they still didn't revert that.
Well, a lot of people
I don't know. I guess I mean I can see why you wouldn't like, especially in a big project, like you wouldn't want to just have everything in one like line. I don't know. I found a new way of rearranging my scripts, but I guess that's also a thing you can do, is just have it in one straight line.
Yeah.
I do remember one thing though.
Maybe it saves up file space.
Oh yeah. I do remember there being a character limit on the descriptions.
Oh no.
Which was weird.
That completely ruins the notes and credits that we like to write.
And then I don't remember what else. There was a bunch of other stuff. Most importantly, it was like stuff that we still didn't have from 2.0, and we kind of still don't have. So I don't know. The defined like button is one thing that
Griffpatch had to write its own code to get that back.
That's true. I'm actually not sure if we can talk about this like in depth. Like we've definitely mentioned it before, like slightly, but about extensions and stuff like that, they have been very like ban happy.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm probably not gonna, but I guess this is the case where like Scratch again provides a problem and people naturally have to find a way around it. And Griffpatch luckily is a very talented man, so
he's very good at getting around Scratch's problems. Pardon me, that was a bit harsh. I just mean that because he's very knowledgeable.
It's exactly what he's doing.
He can do a lot with Scratch compared to the average one of us who can't.
Do you guys think Scratch 3 will just stay the way it is right now? Like, that's my honest question right now. Right. Do you think it's gonna...
I feel like there are gonna be minor patches and maybe quality fixes, but maybe not
big
features and quality of life.
Yeah, and like no blocks or anything.
Quite. If I can grasp my crystal ball for a second, I predict that there will probably be like one more patch, maybe like midway through this year or something, where it was like big things that they needed to take time to work through and to say, we can't just release this within a few months. In order to get this as stable as the rest of it, we're gonna have to like really, put in the hours. But I think after that, I don't expect much, if any, past this. I think we're probably looking at how Scratch 3.0 is just gonna look.
Until they, like, 5 years along the line...
Scratch 4.
They say Scratch 4.
I'm just kind of working with what I have, and if we get something new, then cool.
And right now, it just seems like we're getting that in the way of people making custom stuff to make it easier to use Scratch. But... my question then is like, hey, does the Scratch team see that and think like, oh, you know what, they're gonna do it themselves? This is not meant to put down the Scratch team in any way. Like we
love the Scratch team.
They have a difficult job, and I don't know how much.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to tell how big the issues actually are and how difficult things actually are to implement,
and how much time they need and how much they're getting paid for that. Even
Yeah.
So there's that Scratch 3.0.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Scratch 3.0.
Speaking of birthdays...
we did not make you a cake.
Yeah. By the time this episode comes out, I'll be 17.
Hey.
Dude.
Not half bad.
Congrats in advance.
You have like a reverse deadline to edit this now.
I would launch into the entire birthday song, but our viewers don't want to listen to that. So
probably not.
I'll just say congrats on having a whole 17 years to your name.
So, for our Q&A part, and probably the rest of the podcast, we've decided to invite an old friend of ours. Everybody welcome PhantomForcesX, aka Ark.
Hello, my name is PhantomForcesX, but you guys can just call me Ark, because that's my bracket name.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that
Great.
does make sense.
And what sort
So-
of things have you done on Scratch?
Ooh.
'Cause I've enjoyed some of them.
Okay, so I'm like a sort of like a musician programmer sort of guy.
Oh, nice.
So I make music videos, well, not music videos, but music projects, and I toy a lot with like engine mechanics.
That sounds
Yeah.
fun.
Which is always great. It's like the more advanced part of Scratch, which I really enjoy.
It's
Ah.
like the underlying part, I'd say,
Mm.
like the
Mhm.
things that you don't see, but that make all the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are currently working on a bigger project, or is that something you don't want to spoil? Like, Completely.
It's a small project, I'd say.
all right.
It's something I've been working on for a couple of years. Something like Quite has been working on,
Ooh.
like something like Quite's Bridge of Forces.
Fringe of
Mhm, mhm.
Forces.
It's an overtime project, but
Yeah.
it's getting there.
I was gonna say, I'll have you know that probably means it's not a small project, but I think you have honesty anyway.
I wonder if that was completely honest when you were saying that. All right.
Hmm.
Kieran, we have
Yeah.
Q&A questions, and now Ark can also answer
So-
them.
So we have, what are some of the best shower thoughts you've heard / come up with? I haven't had any
Shower
shower
thoughts.
thoughts.
It's less a shower thought and more of an under the influence thought.
Ooh.
One that I always, whenever someone's like saying things like this, I always like to retort with this one, which is
Mhm.
just, "Hey, dude, do you think it's called sand because it's between the sea and the land?"
Nice. I'm in
God.
that state all the time.
You just always have like galaxy
I'm
brain.
just saying random
Yeah.
dumb stuff, and it sometimes works out.
It worked well so
Whoa.
far. Does anybody else have one?
Mm,
Art?
Well, not really. For me, all I think about when I'm in the shower is just music, so
yeah.
Oh,
it's not
dude,
something I can put into words.
is anybody here a shower singer? Because I'm kind of. I kind of am.
I
mean-
kind of just hum to myself eternally, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes
So-
sense. Yeah.
I don't.
Because the shower is a place, that means I tend to sing in it every now and again. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
does everywhere else.
Mm,
What's the next one, Kieran? If we can't find any good ones, then so be it. Sorry,
heard
person
you
who
say
asked.
You record at McDonald's now. If you could rename the podcast, what would you call it?
Monster World Showcase. Just kidding.
yeah.
I mean, you said you're joking, but I feel like that is your true
Mm,
answer.
Monster
I wasn't
World.
half joking. The joke was that I was not joking.
Sometimes that's just how comedy works.
Mm. It's also how mafia works, man.
Oh.
Is that still a thing? Is that
No,
No.
but
But
I got it, so I guess
Sometimes-
sort of.
sometimes I'll just say it because yeah,
It's
like
funny.
it be like that sometimes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
showbiz, baby.
You know what still baffles me is
What?
how bad like mobile game ads are, and that they
Yeah.
still somehow
That
like
they still
generate
get
lots of
cash
Yeah.
money.
I think they're bad because like they want people to see how bad it is, so they can make memes
Yeah.
out of it, and then
And
that's
then
how they
the
get
memes
their
are free
revenue.
advertising.
It's like reverse psychology, and it's really good, but I hate them.
I am never going
It's
to
like-
make a better decision than quitting playing Game of War Fire Age.
Or Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, but
Hey, by the
first,
way-
a word from our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends. No, no,
No, please not.
don't
Raid
install
Shadow
it.
Legends
I see
has
you
given
give
us
you
no
a-
money, and we
Don't
will
install
not.
it. Don't
Please
install
don't.
Raid Shadow Legends. Subscribe
don't.
to ScratchRunning instead. Install.
I don't even know if
Anchor.
it's a good game.
It's not, probably.
I have no clue. That's the problem. Like the Mafia game could have been good, but I will never play it because the ad was bad.
I mean,
that's what
I feel like ScratchRunning is the kind of channel to maybe have a Mafia City Let's Play, but I don't want to spend cash money on a mobile game.
Wait, you pay for that? I don't
Sometimes
know.
it's
Okay, you know
like
what you mean.
microtransactions, you know.
I mean,
Yeah.
if the fans give us money, we can put it towards that.
Exactly,
Ooh,
guys.
Wait, we haven't finished the Patreon page yet. We need to
Yeah.
actually
if there's
flesh it out.
an outpouring of support, we can say, okay, fine, we'll do
Guys,
a playthrough of this.
I have an idea. I want to pitch an idea. All right. before we
Alright.
continue with the Q&A, we have been running low on views, and I think
Okay.
what we need is a bad ad for people to pick it up and make memes out of it. And so here's the deal, all right?
Yeah.
It starts out at like Kiron 20 followers, then like you
then
proudly
we
push him
just-
away.
And then it's just, and then Pump Like That plays, and I've got 300 followers.
And then at the end it says, "This is how scratch running works."
That's
and
how
we're
scratch running works. Are we leaving this in the podcast?
I sure hope so, because I put my blood, sweat, and tears into that joke.
I'm a voice actor
Subscribe.
now, so
Subscribe to Scratch Running, and you too can be surrounded with entire square pallets of money.
Yeah.
Oh.
like,
That's
where are we
terrible.
gonna get the cash money to run the ads?
Oh, I know. What we should do is we should go to Scratch, the entity, and say, listen, we know you don't do ads yet, but you've got one more patch we predicted you would make for 3.0. Now's the time to use that patch to put on ads. Specifically, one ad, specifically the
Scratch
Running.
running podcast.
Only one ad, please.
Thank you.
Ark, have you ever downloaded a mobile game or any game at all through an ad? Like after you saw it in an ad?
I have, but it was for the memes.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Go
Okay,
on.
that's fine. If it's for the memes, then it's fine. It's not about winning. It's about sending.
Please
a message.
elaborate.
Yes.
Will you say which one it is?
Unless you
Well,
feel like they don't deserve the publicity, in which case, don't bother.
there's a bunch of ones that are not that shall not be mentioned.
It's been too long since I've actually
Okay,
done
okay.
it. Yeah. So.
Golf Blitz didn't actually have bad ads
Oh,
or even good ads. I just kind of
Just didn't
installed
have
it
ads.
because Super
they
Stick went golf.
they just didn't have ads. It must have been it must have been a long time ago, because like when you start out with the internet, you start out very naive for everything.
Yeah.
It's very
And
true.
you slowly start to build this wall about like where
Well, you just get
Something-
an eye for like,
Hmm.
oh, that's bogus. Oh, that's like
Yes.
not something worth my time.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think
I got
Oh,
that
man.
eye pretty early on. I'm glad I started actively using the internet at age 13. Like I
Oh,
waited.
yeah, okay,
I
I see.
waited till I was 13, 14 to ask for a phone.
that's really like respect, mad respect.
Yeah.
Because I
Like
think
I completely skipped YouTube Kids.
Okay,
Good.
when was the first time you guys had access to internet, like at your home, on a PC, in your home?
I feel like
Depends
we
on what you mean
actually-
by access.
I feel like we
Right.
always had it.
So the first time I had like actual access, or let's say first touching the internet, was probably when I
Okay.
was like 9 or 10, and there was like this thing called Toontown, which does I don't even know if it exists anymore.
Hey!
And all I
It's
could
not
do
real.
was stare at the screen because my sister was the only one playing. And I was just looking at it. So that's my
Oh.
access to the internet.
That's the
And then
best.
it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
Nice.
13, I finally got like access to like the internet for once. And that's when
Mhm.
things started going uphill, I guess.
So did you start playing Toontown?
No, I forgot
Oh.
about Toontown because it was like a 4-year gap.
Hold on,
Right.
question: is Toontown like a site where you just play games, but like?
No, it is an MMORPG where you are
Ooh,
cartoon characters.
Yeah.
how cool is that?
It was
Yeah.
like,
Club
honestly,
Penguin,
I
but you
didn't
can-
Imagine if Club
No,
Penguin.
it's-
it
it's like-
suffered the same fate as Club Penguin, actually.
It's actually
Yeah.
very close to like Final Fantasy Online and like
Really?
World of
Yeah.
Warcraft, except it's cartoon characters. It actually from a distance seemed really cool, and I was sad I didn't end up playing it.
Yeah.
Well, but it's
Y'all wanna
yeah.
start a clan on Toontown rewritten?
Is there? Is it back?
Not
Is
from
that-
Disney,
is
but
it?
TTR. That's the thing.
Okay, okay.
I'm old enough to have a weird answer to this question in terms of like I have a date, which was like the first date when we had a computer in our house at all, let alone me have
Mhm.
access to it. That was
On
probably
your marks,
when I was
get
like
set. We're going surfing on the internet.
I think it was probably like 9 or so. Maybe a little
Okay,
younger
okay.
than that. And then I
Yeah.
was able to use a family computer starting at like 14, 15, maybe a bit later than that. And then
okay.
I actually got a computer for myself to use when I went away to college.
Yeah, I've kind of always had a family computer, and that's never been swapped out. It's had, I think we actually I think we swapped it out once. It's
What?
still got It's still got Windows 7.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not very good. At the
Perfect.
time, we bought it because the graphics card was the best in the market. And now, it kind of can't run Minecraft.
I mean, okay, here's the thing though. Minecraft
Yeah.
is for some reason still something that not everybody can run.
Yeah.
But
Because despite its graphical, like the way it looks, it's still a
Yeah.
really heavy game because of the amount
Yeah.
of stuff it tries to do. So it
Mm.
kind of breaks even.
Java, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it just the problem with Java?
Yeah.
It just renders
Yeah.
a ton.
Who knows?
Like the
I guess
fact
that's
that
why they
every
did
single
the Bedrock
Yeah.
edition, right? My first,
Yeah.
I think it must have been really late. It must have been like 14, 15 or something. Because I don't know, my parents weren't very like technology, how would you
Savvy.
say it? Yeah. And I remember playing like on one of those billion sites where you just have like random flash games.
Absolutely.
I remember playing that
Hey.
in school, like on school computers before I actually had it at home.
Right.
So that
I
was
did
like a
both.
completely new world to me. And I remember when we got, like, we had a laptop way before we had internet. Once we got internet, it was, obviously it was this whole new world. And I remember my cousin just gave me like a list, like, we called him, like, not over Skype or anything, but over the phone, because there was no internet
Hey.
for us until then. But he gave us like a list of links we should visit.
Oh,
And
sweet.
I remember, so one of them definitely was YouTube, for sure.
Hmm.
I think one of them was Google.
Google, that's a
Not
search
kidding.
engine.
It's important, I guess.
And a
Yeah, you
damn good
gotta
one.
understand it. Back then it was not like as ubiquitous as it is
Yeah,
now. Like
like,
now
absolutely
Google's
not.
just everywhere and it's the one people use.
Yeah.
But back then they were
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, check this out. You
Yahoo
might use it a
Had
lot.
Yahoo, Bing,
Oh, yeah.
Netscape
Oh,
Navigator.
God.
yeah, there were a
Ever
bunch
heard
of
of
like
Internet Explorer?
small private
Oh.
ones as well, and like email services as well. Like there was a Garfield themed email server.
For real.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
For
like
real.
you could get a Yahoo email account or a Gmail account or like a Garfield net.
Garfield.
I'm
Or something.
Googling this now.
I
The
can't remember
original
exactly.
Gmail was Garfield Mail.
The next time I'm applying for any job, it's gonna be with a Garfield email.
Gmail.garfield.com.
Also, I remember one of the links. This is a very fond memory I have. One of the links they wrote down for me, or I wrote down, was an MMORPG called MapleStory, which is still one of my absolute
I've heard of it.
favorites of all
It's so
time.
good.
It is amazing. I mean, Ark,
Yeah.
how much have you played of it?
I remember like the first thing I wanted to do when I like got my email account was play MapleStory.
Yeah. Oh,
And-
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So I played. I didn't get very far, but the time I started was
Same.
around when was it like 0 or something was released, where you started off as a level
Oh, that's
200.
very late. Oh God. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
started-
I
sorry.
never
don't wanna-
played it.
I
Yeah.
don't want to go all hipster on this, but I have some fond memories of this.
Yeah. So I started
0,
around
dude.
then, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's a hard character to play, and all I did was mash buttons, and I was like, huh, why is this so
Exactly.
easy? And then they let me out of the tutorial, and then I was like, oh, this is actually hard, and I died like
Yeah.
a couple of times. So then I switched to mechanic, and mechanic was fun.
Mechanic is amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love Mechanic. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna fanboy over this for at least like 5 minutes. Please bear with me.
That's fine.
But Mechanic is this class. So like 0, I don't know. Here's the deal with MapleStory. All right.
Yeah.
When I started, back in the day, it was still, if anybody at all on Scratch remembers this, you're in the SRCast immediately, because you're old enough to be here. But
And for everyone else, go ahead and just quickly explain what MapleStory was, because they probably don't know.
Yeah. So it's obviously an MMORPG, and I remember back in the day, like the tutorial had you in like your costume for the tutorial was you were like an apple. It was so weird. But that was the thing back then. You had an apple costume, like a green apple costume that you
yeah,
ran around,
yeah.
and everybody ran around in this weird old like apple costume.
Yeah.
And there were only 4 classes. I remember that, like warrior, the classic ones,
Yeah.
warrior, ranger,
I think
mage,
there were,
and
I think
thief.
MapleStory ran ads once,
Yeah.
and that's all I've actually seen of it.
yeah. And from then on, the game was very grindy, obviously, because it's an MMO. But people had like no clue, or maybe we just didn't because we were like very young. But we could like spend a whole day just grinding at the same spot with under-leveled monsters, and it was fun to us. It was amazing. It was like, now I'm playing games. This doesn't go fast enough. This what is this? Like, I'm not level 100 in one day.
I wish my special attack were 0.6%
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, games have evolved a lot, and what I'm saying is, like, the new classes MapleStory came on, with every class it got like more and more overpowered and like insane power creep. So, like what you mentioned, Zero. When I look at this class, you jump around the whole screen in like one skill, and you slash through the whole like line of enemies.
Yeah.
That's broken.
Back then, your attack, your only skill, mages could maybe teleport if they wanted to. That was crazy. And their attack only hit one enemy twice.
Yeah.
You did that a bunch. But Mechanic was a guy who just like piloted a mech suit, and he was extremely fun to play. Love that.
I had so much of a hard time with the mech because the two things I struggled with most were climbing up ladders
My god.
finding how to equip my mech. Because for the first 20 levels, I played without a mech.
Oh no!
Because you're just like, I don't know how to get back in this thing.
You were shooting a gun like
Mechanic.
pow pow.
Yeah.
The fun thing is it also like restricts you from using the actual like cool skills unless you are in that mech. So he was probably just like shooting with a gun like
I
one
was
damage
auto-
at a time.
This character's so boring. Why can't I switch to
Turns on mech. Whoa! I can jump across the whole screen in one second. Yeah.
That was the thing with MapleStory, is that it had, like, I feel like the reason it was so appealing was that all of the sprite work was like super super cool, like especially for the time, and so like half of the fun was just watching the spectacle of how your moves looked and all the animations and stuff.
Fun fact: all attack animations from Monster World are from MapleStory because they are amazing. They are so good.
They're good.
They're really good, and like in general, all the sprite work. There's so so much great stuff to be found there. Also, I think the most appealing thing about it, it's 2D. It's a 2D MMORPG. You don't see that often.
2D platformer.
I know people, yeah, exactly. You had, there was one other, Wonder King, I think it was called, but I never played that one.
That sounds like a MapleStory class.
It was no.
The Wonder King.
Wonder King. No, now you have in MapleStory legit one class is like I think she's like, you guys know Hatsune Miku?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh,
Was
like
it Helmet
a Vocaloid
Heroes?
class?
I have no clue. I didn't play.
Bizarre.
No, I think she was called Angelic Bustard, but like she had a she was a like an anime, very anime inspired. Like,
I am
Hatsune
thinking of
Miku-ish
Helmet
girl
Heroes.
with like a dragon cannon on her hand. So you had the like polar opposites.
Yeah.
It was fun.
You guys just gave me flashbacks to Helmet Heroes.
Oh,
Wait, have I heard
tell
of
me
that?
about that.
Go on.
I think it's a 2D MMO. Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, also, just gotta say, after all this fanboying, I still probably, I don't think I can recommend MapleStory in the state it is now. They made MapleStory 2, and they made it 3D, which is like, why?
Yeah.
Why, buddy? You took away what made you special.
Yeah.
And
That's no fun.
So just go back to Toontown. It's fine.
Just go back to
Just go back
Toontown.
to Toontown. Yeah.
Maybe we should just go back to a more simple RPG.
Oh,
This is a segue into our
Please.
next segment.
Nice.
I am surprised every time.
He's done it again. Yeah, we found a new Scratch game by Ren
Only we
Heaven.
did. It's not on the front page or anything. Don't look it up, please. It's
It's by Rend Heaven, and it is called Simple RPG 2. It has cloud multiplayer, 3 characters, and it's also kind of good.
you
really
could have
good.
just stopped at cloud multiplayer because that makes it
Yeah,
amazing.
That is-
already. Kieran, please let us talk about meta in that game, because you
Alright,
have made a
Simple RPG. I've made a quick guide. So there are 4 moves in the game: attack, reflect, special, and heal. Attack does regular damage. Special does double damage, but special can be reflected, but regular attack can't. So it's kind of like rock paper scissors.
Exactly. It's like a more fun rock paper scissors with good sprites. But I believe, I don't, like, not to put down the game in any way, but I believe the sprites he did not make himself, right? Except for the attack ones.
Oh,
I'm not
really?
sure. He said like or
The sprites in
something.
the background are from Pixel
Yes.
Boy.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's completely fine. Like, he still
Honestly,
made the whole
that's
engine,
fine.
which is amazing.
And he credited the artist.
Yes.
What?
More than anything, that's
That's cool.
Extremely
So,
important. Thank you very much,
That's a
Rand
thing
Evan.
you get to do.
I really enjoyed like it's like a rock paper scissors. Yes, it's probably the most fun way to play rock paper scissors right now on the
Yeah.
internet.
And then
I'm
there's
not
even
gonna lie.
then there's even healing. So
Yeah.
So if you heal
you want-
someone who's reflecting, then that's just a better turn for you.
If you want an unfun way to play rock paper scissors, play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh no.
And
So
there you go.
Are there type advantages in that game?
No, but like
Yeah.
you have
Not
you have
yet.
your classic control decks. You have
Yeah.
your
Oh, no.
You couldn't call them aggro decks, but you have decks that like basically cancel each other out, and there's that. But you probably have that in many card games just to keep
I
it
don't
like
want
balanced.
to. I don't want to
right.
spend cash money on another card game.
Please don't. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Play it online.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go on
Play it
top.
online.
Duel Links,
Play-
PvZ
Duel Links is
Heroes,
cool.
Light Seekers.
Yeah.
Tabletop sim.
Yeah.
You just pay for tabletop sim and have everything.
Yeah.
Yo, there's like one guy I know this, and this may not make it into the SRCast episode because it's like completely uninteresting. But somebody made a like workshop item for tabletop sim, which is just every single Yu-Gi-Oh card ever printed. I think in the TCG, and
Yeah.
That's
that's
a lot.
at least like over 8,000 cards. It is insane.
There was a game before that called Dueling Network, and
mhm.
it was so popular. But then because you could use all the cards, and it
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
it was built specifically for Yu-Gi-Oh. But then it got taken down because of like copyright issues.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Konami yeeted it.
Yeah.
Like
Konami
it yeeted
kind of
all
yeeted it.
those. Like it yeeted all those rhythm games.
Or as we like to call them, Komani. Like the
Konmai.
Yeah.
For the rhythm game
Um,
community, it's Konmai.
It's I don't know. They have weird policies, and I can understand. Like, okay, you don't want there's a popular program called Yu-Gi-Oh Pro, which is also like basically you have every card and you can just build your deck how you want it and play against people. And they those are also usually often taken down and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yay for that.
Yay.
If Konami wanted to make actual money, they could just make a really good one themselves. But why don't they? I don't know.
Who knows?
No.
It's called microtransactions.
Look it up,
Cash,
sweetheart.
cash, money.
That's how mom works.
I'll take words I never thought would come out of Nick's mouth for 500.
It's only I would never say this if I didn't watch Northern Line. That's his like catchphrase when he says anything. It's called whatever. Look it up, sweetheart. It's very great.
Look it up.
I also it always gets a laugh out of me. You can't not laugh at. That's my rant about Yu-Gi-Oh, my
Thanks.
fanboying about MapleStory, and whatever else we have.
Yeah. The next
Do we have
we
more
did have
Q&A?
we did have another Q&A.
Oh no.
Thank you to Trapper2 for asking us, why do you think the Scratch community is so partial to badly made platformers?
You answered this.
Yeah,
Sharon,
I
kind
did
of.
in the comments, and I just said,
I would like to elaborate. Yeah, but go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
first I said, 1, sometimes there's a popular thing in the title. And then I said, there's one engine everyone uses, so it's easier to program. You could make a Scratch game in MS Paint.
Like, I think Griff Patch, you broke the floodgate. Griff Patch with your very clever and very useful platformer tutorial.
That no one else can
Just-
be bothered to replicate.
He
Yeah.
flooded the market with
Yeah.
platformer games. Which,
And
eh,
now
Yeah, but
it's
at least
just
they don't use color detection.
also isn't like the platformer just the first game everyone makes?
Yeah,
Right.
that was
Probably.
what I started off with as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like once you, it doesn't matter how good or bad it is, but like everyone, like the first idea they get when they want to make a game is like, I know Mario, I want to make
I've
like
heard
a
of
very simple
Super
Mario.
Mario.
right.
Yeah.
I think
It's probably
Yeah.
a big reason.
it's funny because I would say that's the biggest reason. It's just because
Mhm.
it's not too difficult to make at least a functional
Yes.
platformer.
Yeah.
But my question is that there's a couple genres, for instance, like the shoot 'em up genre, that I would say is equally easy to program, and somehow you don't see as many of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
That's because Griffpatch didn't make a shooter
fair enough.
engine yet.
Hey, Griffpatch, get on it. I want to get my
Yeah,
shoot
yeah.
'em up fix.
Please flood the Scratch servers with more.
Oh well, at least
Shooters.
no one's made a comprehensible and easy to work with roguelike engine.
Oh no.
See, like that's so much more difficult. I feel like you know, because you've made one.
Why do we have so many low quality ones? I have no
Yeah.
clue.
Maybe
I-
people don't know level design. Or they want views. That's
Fair.
it.
Well, it's hard.
Completely
It's hard to think of good level design unless you've like
Hmm.
decided, oh, I want a specific game where this is like your core mechanic, like the thing you work
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
And so you just think, well, what have I seen? And well, if you've been on Scratch, you've seen
You've seen
all of those specific levels. So it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
first I'll make it not
So it just
quite the
keeps on
detected
coming.
color.
Yeah. First, I'll make a
Ooh.
square. Then
Yes.
I'll make the first level just go right.
Then
Then I'll
have
make the
them be
second level. Oh,
circles.
there's lava in the middle.
Yeah,
like-
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's like the
Oh, man.
established conventions of the genre.
Yeah, yeah.
The rules of making a platformer in Scratch.
It's
And
like
then at some
it's
point-
like the establishing shot in a movie. There's the establishing level where it's just go right.
Oh,
It's like the
Alright,
it
now
was a
jump.
dark and stormy night sort of beginning to every story.
Perfect.
oh man.
Now
Also-
now one of us has to make an untitled platformer that's a dark and stormy night.
Oh no.
Dude.
I feel like that's in your wheelhouse, Kieran.
Hmm.
Make sure level 2 has lava in the center.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, in like when you break it down to like actual game design, it's not that bad to have a first like level where there's no danger. There's just
Yeah.
check out how you can actually move. But it's a platformer, dude.
Yeah.
It's a 2D platformer.
And also, you have a
We've
whole
seen
screen
it
to work with.
all.
Like you can have more obstacles while still making it a safe feeling environment to experiment with.
Yeah.
I think now I'm just thinking about the Steve Gaming video where he said that New Super Mario Bros. U has the perfect learning curve per level.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
It has a
Like
very
the-
well crafted one.
I mean, it's Nintendo.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you think it's maybe time to end the episode? We've had the Q&A and stuff. I
Yeah.
think there's
Yeah,
fair enough.
we've been recording for a little bit. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the ScratchRunning Podcast. I've been Kieran, the host.
and we've been the Mafia.
Yeah, we've been the Baseball
Absolutely.
All-Stars.
Oh, I need to mention this. I don't mean this is not meant this in a disrespectful way, but just more like funny.
It's like, we just saw a comment that said, Baseball All-Stars, and it wasn't even on a baseball project.
Oh, it's the most hilarious thing to me.
Baseball All-Stars!
You never know what you're gonna get.
Out
Like,
of
I was
context.
planning to maybe start an episode with me on the mic at the Baseball All-Stars. We got the first baseman, Nick, the pitcher, Quite,
Oh,
and I'm your host, Karen, whatever.
next
like-
time.
Yeah, see you the next time.
See the next time.
Anyways.
you can leave when we're funny.
I've been Apfellord. You can find me on
Yeah.
Scratch, I guess. Also, still subscribe to ScratchRunning.
Subscribe to ScratchRunning.
Post more content there.
We post
um,
daily uploads occasionally.
Yeah, I continue to be HmYesQuite or Quite, and yeah, feel free to find your way to our community if you'd like, or as they say, just subscribe and leave comments as you would like to.
Subscribe
Exactly.
to ScratchRunning.
And I'm PhantomForcesX. You can find me on Scratch, and
That's about it. Right?
Yeah.
that's about it. And make sure to subscribe to ScratchRunning, because that's how the Mafia works.
That's how Mafia works.
That's how ScratchRunning works.
That's showbiz, baby.
Ark, you're
say
a
the
natural.
final line.
All right.
Yeah.
See you the next time. The recording has now stopped.